It's time for Real Estate 101 with the Karey Brown team from Realty Executives Preferred Advisors.
Good Sunday morning to you. This is Karey Brown, broker, owner of Realty Executives Preferred Advisors here in Topeka, and you are listening to Real Estate 101. Today we are starting our series on a women's magazine that we have been putting together that there's no man bashing, guys. It's just literally about trying to help women structure their lives and their financing so that they can stand on their own 2 feet, basically. Teaching our daughters how to do the same thing. And today on the show, I have Shannon Moore. She's out of Placida, Florida, and she's with Lyon Realty. And I found her on Facebook. She's a fellow broker, and I'm always looking for people to learn from, and she seems to be a wealth of knowledge down there. So good morning, Shannon.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Sure. Thank you so much for being on. I happened to run across an article about how Shannon helped her daughter, and her daughter's name is Willow, who's actually, she's 17 now?
She's 18 now.
18 now. And back when she was 14, she started working with her mom buying houses. So I'm going to give you some time here. Tell us how that all started.
All right. Well, it started... Willow was going to a full-time gifted school for gifted children. She also has ADHD. So it's kind of like herding cats in a box. She was incredibly smart, but couldn't keep her act together and turn in paperwork. So every day I was getting calls from the teacher, Willow's not doing this. She didn't turn her homework. She hasn't done this. She hasn't done that. And I was homeschooling her younger sister, Iris. And I said, Willow, you need to get your act together. I'm tired of getting calls from the teacher. Either you get it together or we're going to, you're welcome to have me homeschool you. I said, but the deal is I'm selling real estate. You're going to have to come with me. If that's the path that you choose, when I go to evaluate houses for investors, you're coming with me. You're going to have to do whatever, read or bring a game system or whatever you're going to do, but you're going to have to come with me. And so she thought about it for a couple of weeks, and she said, she was actually on medicine to help her concentrate, and she had lost so much weight because the medicine made her not have an appetite, which was another a negative thing to being in a regular public school. So she said, you know what? She said, I want to not be on this medicine because it makes me feel like a zombie. I can concentrate, but it's just because I'm sitting here like a zombie. And she said, I'm going to try the homeschooling thing and see how that goes. So I said, all right. So we jumped right into it. I was homeschooling her and her younger sister, Iris, and I would bring them with me to houses that, needed the tile ripped out and the house painted and the roof repaired and what have you, and then I would evaluate. And at first, the first month, she just complained the whole time. Do I have to go? This is so boring. How long are you going to be? This, that, and the other. Didn't like it at all. Finally, after about a month, we went to this house. I still remember it was on Derrick Street in Northport, where we live. And we walked in, and there was all kinds of stuff that was left behind. It was a foreclosure, and one of my investors had purchased it. And she said, what is he going to do with all this stuff in here? It looks pretty good. There's a bunk bed, and there's a, refrigerator and stove and what have you. Look in good shape. And I said, we need to get it all out. We have to flip the house. We're, getting it out. We're going to throw it by the curb, and, that's that. And she said, well, why would you do that? This is useful stuff that people could use. I said, well, we only have a week to get this going, and, we have to get it all painted, and we don't have time for it. And she said, do you think he'd let me sell it and split the money with him? And I said, well, it's possible. I said, I don't know. I really don't have time for a whole huge discussion. We have 10 houses to look at today. And I said, here's his phone number. Why don't you call him up and ask him? So she called him up, and she said, hey, John, this is Willow, Shannon's daughter. All this stuff in this house, I was wondering what you're going to do with it. He said the same thing. It needs to get out of there, and we are in a hurry. And she said, well, would you let me sell it and split the money with you? And he said, I don't care what you do with it. Just get it out. Get it out of the house. It needs to go. We are on a time frame. And so she said, okay, I'm going to get on Craigslist and Facebook. I'm going to take pictures with my phone, and I'm going to try and sell it. So she sold it. She sold everything in the house and made, I think it was $700-800. And she was like, wow, this is just stuff that people are throwing out. This is trash, basically, that I'm selling, and I made money. So she started going around on her skateboard, because she was 14, not old enough to drive, around on garbage day in our neighborhood and looking for stuff that she might be able to resell on Facebook or Craig. At that time, it was more so Craigslist. Now it's more so Facebook. And so she started getting stuff out of the trash. And then she said, well, can you take me to the more affluent neighborhoods so I can look in their trash too? They may probably have better stuff. So we figured out, I said, then get online and figure out what day their trash day is. And if I'm not busy, we'll try and, hit a few streets and see what they have. So she did that for several months and wound up saving around, and then she started selling to her friends. She would go to Goodwill and Salvation Army thrift stores. She'd get skateboards and things she knows about, game systems and whatever. She would get them and resell them to her friends at the skate park and make money doing that. And so she had saved up about $6,000. And my husband and I were sitting at the dinner table talking about a house that I found for $16,000 in a town called Port Charlotte. This was when the market was really low. And we were just sitting down talking, and I was saying, yeah, it's a block house. It actually has an AC. It needs a lot of repair, but, I think we can make it work and use it as a rental. And Willow's sitting, listening to this at the dinner table, and she says, do you think they'd take 12? And I said, I doubt it. I don't know. Why? And she said, well, I have $6,000 saved. I want to go in partners with you. And I sat. I didn't really know what to say. And my husband said, no, we are not going to go in partners. She's 14. She can get a job pretty soon at the grocery store, or, I had a paper route. We're not going to go in partners with our kids. That's just crazy. And I said, let's just think about this. I can use it as a homeschooling project. She can learn how to measure tiles, get math. She can learn how to interview contractors and speaking to people. And I said, she can interview the tenants. And he said, no, we're not going to do it. We're not going to do this. And she said, how about, this is what I suggest. She said, I'm going to come up with a proposal, and how about we meet tomorrow night, and I'll tell you what my idea is. And my husband still was not really for it. And I said, all right, let's just at least listen and see what she has to say. So the next day we met at the dinner table again, and she said, all right, this is what I have thought of. She goes, how about I put my $6,000 in? And she said, I know it needs a lot of repairs, so it's not just going to be $6,000, if they'll even take the $6,000. And then whatever money I would get for my half of the rent, because I would pay for half of it, you put that back in to pay back the repairs, and you keep putting back in until I bought you out of the house. I want to own the house.
Wow.
And I said, okay, that's a deal, but we're partners. So if somebody has to be evicted, we're going together. If somebody is to be interviewed for, a new tenant, we're doing it together. If something breaks down, you're finding a new thing on Craigslist or Facebook or something. You're interviewing the contractors. You're calling to get the water and electric turned on. You're helping. You're a partner. We're in it together. And she said, okay, deal. I got it. We're doing this. So we got the house for $12,000. She interviewed all of the contractors that worked on the house. And we talked about why we think one might be better than the other, whether it was their work experience or maybe they were an average price, they weren't too high, weren't too low, or whatever the case may be. She interviewed the new tenant. When tenants left or we had to evict somebody, she did that too. She turned the water on. She was fantastic. And so meanwhile, I do interviews about twice a month with the local newspaper. There's a guy, and actually he just won a Pulitzer Prize for journalism a few weeks ago, the guy my newspaper guy at the Herald Tribune. So shout out to Michael Braga. That's how it all started. So this guy, Michael Braga, at the local newspaper, calls me up, and he says, hey, there's a lady from National Public Radio who wants to do an interview with somebody about real estate. And I know you're always straight up and, you know what's going on with the market, so I gave her your number. She's going to be calling you. I just want to give you a heads up. I said, oh, great, fantastic. Yeah, I'll talk to her when she calls. So a couple of days later, I get a call from Hannah Jaffe-Walt at National Public Radio. She does a show called All Things Considered. And she calls me up, and it's the same thing. How's the market going? Is it high, low, whatever? Same interview, that everybody else does. And just to give her an idea, I threw out and I said, well, if a 14-year-old girl can buy half of a house, it's pretty darn low, And I went on to talk about my investors and flipping and, this and that in the market. And she said, let's go back to that 14-year-old girl. And I was like, yeah. And again, I started talking about my investors. And she said, I want to focus on that 14-year-old girl. Who is she and what's the deal with that? So I explained to her just what I explained to you. And she said, I'm in New York. I'm going to be flying down tomorrow from New York. I want to meet with you and Willow. And I said, well, we got a lot of stuff going on. She's got like 14 people to buy and sell from. We have an auction to go to for her to buy stuff. And we have 4 houses to look at. I go, we're busy. And she said, that's perfect. I want to go with you and see exactly what you're doing. I said, all right. I don't know that it's that exciting or even this story is really that exciting. It's just something we did just to do. I don't really, she said, I think it's a really cool story. And she said, I'll be there at 7 o'clock in the morning and I'm going to stay all day till like 10 at night. I said, okay, that's fine. So she flew down. She was with Willow and I the entire day, just like she said, and she flew back and we didn't really think too much of it. And she called about a week or two later and said, listen, the story, when she left, she said, when I do this story, you're going to get calls from all over the world. It's going to be crazy. And I thought, yeah, right. She's just trying to be nice, So she flew back. About 2 weeks later, I get a call from her, and she said, oh, I just want to let you know, Friday at 5:30 or 6, whatever time it was, the Willow story is going to be on National Public Radio. I'm just giving you a time so you can listen in. I said, oh, okay, cool. I'll tune in and listen to it. So Willow and I were in another town grocery shopping, and we totally forgot about it and almost missed the thing going on the radio. And I'm in the middle of shopping and dropped everything and went to the car to listen to this National Public Radio broadcast. So it goes off, and we thought, well, that's kind of cool, half hour on a show, and that's neat, Which you can look up the National Public Radio. She did 2 interviews with them, but you can look them up under Willow Tufano. But so I get home about 6:30, 7 o'clock. My phone rings, and it says Los Angeles. And I thought, oh, are you kidding me? It's probably Zillow or Realtor.com or somebody trying to sell me some kind of program. I almost didn't answer. I thought, it's Friday. I don't really want to tell them that I don't want to do it, and blah, 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 whatever.
We get those calls a lot, don't we?
Exactly. And I answered. And I said, hello. And they said, hi, is this Shannon? And I said, yeah, this is Shannon. And they said, is this Shannon Moore? I said, yeah, this is Shannon Moore. And they said, is this Willow Tufano's mom? And I go, yeah, who is this? And they said, this is Ellen. And I'm thinking, Ellen. I'm trying to think of clients in Los Angeles. And I'm thinking, Ellen. And they're like, you don't know an Ellen? And I was like, should I just play along like I do? Or, and
you never want to forget a client's name, right?
Yeah, I'm like, I don't. And I was like, and they could tell that I was like sweating it, I think. I was like, and they're like, oh, okay. You don't know an Ellen DeGeneres then in LA? And I was like, is somebody punking me? What do you mean? And they're like, well, Ellen DeGeneres. Do you know who she is? And I was like TV Ellen? On TV? And they're like, yeah. Do you know her? I was like, well, yeah, doesn't everybody? And they're like, Ellen just saw, she goes, she goes, this is Gloria Gale. I'm Ellen's executive assistant. She just heard your a broadcast on National Public Radio and told me to reach out to you immediately. She's very interested in having you come out to LA and talk with her. And I said, oh, what? What?
That's exciting.
And she was like, well, she loved the idea that Willow was flipping houses or flipping stuff in houses and was able to buy a house, and she does that herself. And she goes, by the way, she goes, is Willow there? And I walked into Willow's room, and I'm mouthing, it's Ellen. And she was like, what? And so I put her on speakerphone. I go, here's Willow. And Glory says, Ellen just heard your broadcast. Do you know who she is? And Willow's like, yeah, I have her on my Facebook feed. And she was like, great. She goes, have you seen her show then? And she goes, Willow goes, yeah, I like the one with Amanda Peet when she gets scared in a banana suit or something. And I'm like, this is crazy. What? And she said, Ellen wants you guys to come out tomorrow afternoon out to L.A. What do you think? She goes, what do you think, Mom? I don't know. This is Willow's thing. And Willow was like, I love Ellen. What? Yeah? And I go, I didn't know what to say because I had to talk to my husband. And I'm like, I need to get my hair done. I don't even know. I need to stall. Like, that's what I said. I go, I need to get my hair done. I don't even know what. This is crazy. And she goes, all right. She goes, how about I give you a few days? She goes, you know, it'd be really cool if you came out here and you were on the St. Patrick's Day show on March 17th. I go, well, that gives me a few days. That sounds a little bit better. She said, well, we'll fly you out here and, you know, take care of everything. But she said, here's the deal. You all cannot talk to any media at all before you go on the show. And Willow's like, well, nobody really even cares about the story, so that's fine. And she goes, I'm telling you, wait a day or so, and people will be calling you. And Willow's like, okay, well, I want to go on Ellen. So, and she's like, well, that's what we want to hear. You have to stick with us until it's been aired, and then you can do whatever you want. And she said, do we have an agreement here? And I said, Willow? She said, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, we have an agreement. And so, no call. This was Friday. Nobody called on Saturday. Sunday at I don't know. I guess it was 5 in the morning, 4 in the morning. I get a call from India asking for Willow. And I'm like, can you call back at 7-ish, kind of normal time? And so 7:30, Anderson Cooper, Good Morning America, CNN, MSNBC. I literally had an Inside Edition, 9,000 national media people calling, wanting to interview Willow. It was crazy.
It's a good thing Ellen was on the ball, right?
She was on the ball. Her producers were on the ball. So we flew out to L.A. She was on the Ellen show. She did 185 interviews after that. She did speaking engagements with Miss Kay from Duck Dynasty. She wound up purchasing the house from me, buying a house that we agreed upon. She ran the house. She interviewed tenants, interviewed contractors. She purchased a second house and flipped that shortly after. When she was 17, she decided to move. She's, as you can tell, pretty independent and very much of a go-getter. She moved to Chicago with her girlfriend up there in Chicago, and when she was 17, she stopped doing virtual school, and her senior year, she's going to be graduating from a high school in downtown Chicago, and she's planning to move to New York City. And I think she tells me she might want to start a line fitting company. And what that entails is people would hire her or people in her company to sit in line and wait for various things like Broadway tickets or iPhone release, Nike release. Yeah.
You would think that there would be demand for that.
Hours. Yeah. And then if it's snowing, it's more. If it's raining, or if it's below freezing, or whatever the case may be. So that's her latest thing in her head that she thinks she might want to do. But looks like in the summer, after she graduates, she's going to be moving to possibly New York City is the way it's looking. So she made a very good, a decent nest egg for herself at the age of 14. Buying and selling property with me, but I was just a signer, and had half the money. But it was her idea. So that's Willow.
I know whenever we started talking, I said, my daughter babysits. I got to get her to step up her game, or I do one.
Yeah.
Buying houses.
Yeah, that's crazy. So that's pretty much. And then as far as what I'm doing right now, I started a Facebook group about 4 months ago, and it's called Real Estate Out of the Box Owl. And it's it's to teach realtors how to market, just like I taught Willow, essentially. And in 4 months' time, it has over 17,000 realtors all over the world. So it's pretty popular. And I also am in the final stages of writing a book. I released it to 300 people to kind of get some feedback, and now I'm adding 50 pages and rewriting it and what have you. But I've written a book. I'm doing coaching classes. I have that. I also have a brokerage. I own Lyon Realty. Lots of things going on.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's just great. Part of the reason why I wanted you and Willow's story in the magazine is just because we wanted to start in a teenage period in a girl's life and to show, it doesn't mean you have to be 30 to start building your own equity in something, or, just having a goal. Because, teenage years are hard anyway. I mean, you were getting the calls from school. We all go through the whole girl dynamic whenever they're teenagers. It's kind of like shoot me now whenever they start having hormones.
Nobody likes me. Yeah. Nobody likes me. And, this kind of middle school drama kind of stuff. And
it's insane.
It was difficult. Like I said, she has ADHD, and trying to get her to pay attention is like, Willow, come on now. We need to focus here and get this done. But we took her, and by the way, the day she stopped going to regular public school, we took her off the medicine, and she hasn't been on it since then. So
that's great.
So that's a whole nother thing. And I mean, people, I know, a lot of people deal with ADHD and, kids that are distracted or what have you, and I kind of say, let the child lead you to a certain extent, guide them, but let them kind of lead you a little bit.
Exactly. So, I know. My kids...
Yeah, we let Willow lead us, and, she's doing great. She's doing fabulous.
It sounds like it. She's already a star at such a young age. So it's definitely great what you guys did. I know being a mom and being a real estate agent in itself is crazy. Adding homeschooling to that, I don't know how you did it.
Yeah, it was. And when I first got my license, actually the first week I got my license, my youngest, Iris, was born. And that same week, Hurricane Charlie in 2004 tore my whole town apart. So welcome to real estate with a 1-week-old baby, and you just went through a hurricane. So when people tell me I can't do it, or I have these challenges, I don't have the money, be creative, get creative, think of things that other people are doing, come up with ideas, I mean, how do you sell a house that has no roof? That's the kind of a challenge.
Exactly.
So I said, I'm going to try and work with investors who might be putting those houses back together. And that's when I started working with investors, because that's what I had to work with. I had to make it work. I had 3 kids, Hurricane Charlie just ripped through, and I just had a brand new baby. That was my first week in real estate. So people say they can't do it. You can do it. Get out there, think of different ideas, think of other ways to do something. If somebody's doing the same old thing, put a twist on it, put a spin on it, do something different. Get media to cover things that you're doing. I do dog adoptions at my office. I get a lot of buyers and sellers because people see that I'm giving back to my community. Give back to other people, and you'll get rewards in return.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. And I will definitely, we have a blog that this radio show will also be linked to, with the different avenues that you can go out and read their story, and just kind of follow Shannon also. So look for that. It will be on TopekaHomeAdvisors.com, and it will also be on our Facebook page, which is Realty Executives Preferred Advisors. And then the whole team shares it, so if you know one of us, you'll find it that way also. But thank you again, Shannon. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you, too.
Thank you for listening to Real Estate 101 with the Karey Brown team from Realty Executives Preferred Advisors. Tune in again next Sunday at 11 o'clock for Real Estate 101.